My family was going broke, so I was forced into an arranged marriage. I just arrived at the Green's house when I heard yelling from inside. So what if she's gorgeous? I just heard her ask someone if their parents were dead. With an attitude like that, I quietly pushed the door open, ready for the engagement to be called off. The next second, the young master's face turned beet red, and he sucked in a breath. Melody is not only beautiful but also caring. I knew Dad had great taste. Son, I'll do whatever you say. My family was on the brink of bankruptcy, so I was shipped off to the Greens overnight. But before I even stepped inside, I heard shouting. You old geezer, you're way too controlling. Don't you know marriage is about freedom these days? I'm only 23. I'm not marrying some strange woman who's older than me. Your son would rather get hit by a car than agree to this ridiculous demand. What's that? She's pretty. You're so superficial. So what if she's gorgeous? That's her outside, right? I passed by and heard her ask someone if their parents were dead. With an attitude like that, not even a dog would marry her. I froze. He was talking about me, wasn't he? When I got out of the car, a street vendor's cart splashed mud all over me. I was just about to say something. But the vendor immediately yelled that I was blind and not watching where I was going. I got so mad I started arguing with him right there. Finally, the vendor, being a total jerk, asked if my parents were dead because I had no manners. So I shot back, no, your parents are dead. Had Leo just walked past me? He must be deaf or something, only hearing me cuss someone out, not them cussing me. The argument inside got louder, and I could faintly hear things crashing. I closed my eyes in despair. This marriage was probably off. Rumor had it that old Green had his son Leo late in life and spoiled him rotten. Leo supposedly walked around with his nose in the air. And for something as big as an arranged marriage, even if the old man liked me, his son was obviously more important. I sighed. Whatever. To be polite, I figured I should at least say hello to him. I was already here. Might as well get it over with today instead of putting it off. I left my luggage outside, hesitated for a moment, then pushed the door open. If you force me, you old coot, I'll kill myself. Leo was facing the wall, head tilted back, looking like he was about to bash his brains out. I cautiously reached out. You don't have to kill yourself. We can just call off the engagement. If he actually died, I'd be responsible for a death. The thought made my scalp tingle, and I shivered. Two pairs of eyes in the room landed on me. Melody, why are you here so early? Old Green looked surprised, then glanced at his son, who was acting like a lunatic, and seemed at a loss for words. Melody, you see, this arranged marriage. Your father and I agreed on it, but... Ouch. Mr. Green was mid-sentence when Leo suddenly collapsed. He propped himself up, banged his head against the wall a couple of times, and stared right at me. Melody, please excuse me. When my headaches act up, I usually bang my head against the wall to relieve the pain. But I'm perfectly healthy. If you don't believe me, we can get a prenup physical. Maybe it was the extreme comfort of being in his own home. Leo didn't seem embarrassed at all. He just picked himself up off the floor and turned to me with a perfectly polite smile. Melody, you came over so early. Did you sleep well? Would you like to take a nap here first? I think I heard Melody outside showing concern for someone just now. Melody, you're so beautiful and kind, right, Dad? If I hadn't heard what he said outside earlier, I might have actually been fooled by his handsome face. I looked up at him. No wonder he was a young master born with a silver spoon in his mouth. He was tall and well-built, but he had these puppy dog eyes that added a touch of goofy charm to his otherwise sharp and aloof demeanor. Leo met my gaze, and his face instantly flushed. He quickly looked away. His words reminded me of what he'd said before I came in, that I had a bad attitude. What if this gentlemanly act was just Leo being polite? If I called off the wedding, I might still have other options. But if he went around telling everyone in our social circle that I was trashy, it would ruin my reputation and leave me with no way out. Thinking about my family's precarious business, I couldn't help but speak up, explaining softly, I didn't ask if someone's parents were dead. That vendor cursed at me like that first. Leo paused, then suddenly got flustered. I wasn't bad-mouthing you, Melody. You misunderstood. He scratched his head, looked at Mr. Green, his eyes lighting up. He turned and yelled. Dad, how come you're not dead yet today? When are you gonna hand over the family fortune to me? Then he grinned at me. I know Melody was just showing concern for others. I show concern for my dad like this all the time at home. What a devoted son. I curved my lips slightly, not daring to say anything. The next second, a slap landed on Leo's face. Mr. Green was furious. You little bastard. Having been publicly shamed by his own father, Leo looked embarrassed. It was as if the slap had sobered him up, his gaze towards me suddenly became distant. Leo swallowed and lifted his chin. I was just talking in my sleep, still half asleep. Don't take it seriously. You're just average pretty. The next second, another slap on Leo's face. That's not what I'm mad about. You brat. How did I end up with a son like you? Mr. Green rolled his eyes, and the scene descended into chaos. I meekly spoke up. Maybe we should just call off this wedding. I had a feeling this young master wasn't all there. Sure enough, the sleep-talking genius opened his mouth. All right then, I guess I'll reluctantly marry you. Leo had just told the driver to take me home. That afternoon, he showed up at my house, loaded with bags, without skipping a beat. I'm reluctantly gracing your home with my presence. You don't mind, right? Looking at Leo in front of me, dressed in a dark, diamond-studded suit, perfectly styled hair, like a peacock showing off its feathers. This was reluctant. I was a bit confused, but I just went along with it. Not at all. Wear whatever you like. Leo's smug smile froze. He muttered something about leaving something in the car and told me to go inside and wait for him. When he came back in, my little sister dived into my arms, wailing that the dragon fruit outside had turned into a monster. I looked up. Leo had somehow changed his black diamond-studded suit into a hot pink diamond-studded one. It was blinding. But he acted completely unfazed, tilting his head back cockily. That one was too formal. This one is a bit more reluctant. During dinner, my mom gestured with her eyes for me to serve Leo some food. I had just put a shrimp in his bowl. The next moment, he popped the whole shrimp, shell and all, into his mouth. His words were muffled. Since my fiancé served it, I guess I'll reluctantly eat it. He even chewed up the shell. A little later, I felt a nudge on my shoulder. Leo was looking at me with that shifty, slightly wild look again. Can you serve me some more food? I feel like the food you serve tastes better. I didn't get it, but I did it. I served him food. He didn't spit out the shells. I poured him water. He drank it from his bowl. A little reluctance. A bit more reluctance. Okay, one more tiny bit of reluctance. After who knows how many glasses of water I poured for him. My little sister, who had finally gotten over her fear of the dragon fruit monster, slowly sidled up to me. She cautiously pointed her pinky finger at the dragon fruit monster in her eyes. Her round eyes widened, full of innocent curiosity. Sis, is that a water buffalo? The water buffalo himself paused, bowl in hand. I wasn't sure if it was my imagination, but Leo's voice sounded a bit choked up. I'm going to the restroom. A little later, my sister, who had run off to play, quietly came back and pointed towards the restroom. Sis, I think there's a water buffalo crying in there. It's going moo-moo. This fiancé of mine, Leo. It seemed like he'd had a really high fever as a kid that messed with his brain. Everything he did was completely unpredictable. After an entire afternoon of reluctance, I finally saw him off. Just as he reached the door, Leo suddenly turned back as if he'd remembered something. "Melody, I forgot to introduce myself." Did he even need an introduction? The Greens were a famous family. "I'm way older than you, you know." What a strange way to talk about age. I couldn't help but laugh, but Leo looked strangely nervous. Oh. I remembered. Before I even entered his house that morning, he'd said something about not marrying a woman older than him. I didn't expect him to try and subtly explain it. My face suddenly felt hot, and my heart skipped a beat. But it seemed fate didn't give him a chance to explain. I don't know if it was because his earlier vow not to marry me was too sincere. On our wedding day, while Leo was reluctantly on his way to pick me up, he really did get hit by a car and sent flying. The wedding car instantly turned into an ambulance, sirens blaring, and whisked him off to the hospital. Good news, he wasn't dead. Bad news, it looked like he'd hit his head. Besides some minor fractures, the doctor said the more serious issue was a bruise on his brain, which could cause temporary amnesia. The relief I just felt vanished, and I unconsciously clutched my dirted dress. We had just announced the marriage. If this young master woke up and decided to back out, I'd be completely humiliated. If the engagement was called off at the beginning, I'd at least have other options. But now, at this stage, if it was called off, would anyone else even consider me? I've always been a pushover. My parents are pushovers too. Being a pushover was one thing, but the thought of my family going bankrupt and us becoming penniless was terrifying. Proposing this marriage alliance to the Greens had taken every ounce of courage my family of four possessed. I'd met Mr. Green a few times at dinner parties before. He seemed to like me, thought I was a good kid, which is why he agreed to the marriage. But what about Leo? Everyone said he was a spoiled rich kid, impulsive, and never serious about anything. I remembered the scene at his house, him lying on the floor, threatening his dad by banging his head against the wall. Yeah, he definitely wasn't the serious type. I got lost in thought and didn't notice Leo's eyelashes flutter on the bed. The people behind me quickly gathered around. Leo slowly opened his eyes, his gaze sweeping over the room. My heart leaped into my throat. Getting into a car accident on such an auspicious day. I wonder if it's bad luck from the person or... A sharp voice suddenly cut through the crowd. I looked towards the sound. It was one of the Greens' guests, someone who looked vaguely familiar. I thought for a moment. I think my parents had mentioned their family was close to the Greens. Although, behind their backs, they probably thought Leo was too flighty to be an ideal son-in-law. But among wealthy families, interests came first. They might look down on Leo, but they coveted the Greens' status. They probably thought they could eventually marry into the prestigious Greens, but then I showed up. With Leo having amnesia, and it happening on our wedding day, naturally, they wanted to try their luck again. The Greens can marry into any family they want. The Millers are almost bankrupt. Don't you have any sense, them sending their daughter over for marriage at a time like this? Think about it, getting into a car accident on the way to pick up the bride. Don't you think that's a sign? Leo, I watched you grow up. Would I lie to you? Hearing this, Leo frowned, as if deep in thought. I felt wronged and wanted to argue back. It was clearly his own stupid vow coming true, why blame it on me? Wait a minute. There was a thud from the bedside. I looked up. Leo stared at me, his face a mask of shock, his outstretched finger trembling slightly. You're saying the person I'm marrying today is her? The next second, he shot up in bed. A flash of surprise mixed with sheer ecstasy crossed his eyes, and then he threw his head back and roared with laughter. Thank God I didn't die. She's actually my wife. After yelling, he still seemed incredulous. He grabbed my hand and pulled it towards his face. He tilted his head up. Come on, slap me. Let me see if this is a real wife or a fake wife. I lightly tapped his cheek. Leo's eyes instantly glazed over. Just as I expected from my wife. Even your palm smells good. I quickly pulled my hand away. The way this idiot was looking, he might actually lick my hand. After 2 months of recuperating in the hospital, we brought Leo home. Full of questions, I couldn't help but sneak glances at him. Whenever I looked up, I was met with that goofy, love-struck expression. He'd just start grinning foolishly whenever I looked his way. No idea what he was smiling about. It made my face burn. Back at the hospital, once he confirmed I was his wife, he immediately went off on that meddling guest who was stirring up trouble. After his indiscriminate verbal assault, not another peep was heard from anyone. I just heard someone muttering as they left that I only had a pretty face and must have put some kind of spell on Leo. He'd readily agreed to the marriage. And after losing his memory, he was fiercely protective of his wife. He'd even forgotten his own father but remembered only me. Did he really like me that much? Before I could think too deeply, my sleeve was gently tugged. Leo grinned. Honey. Worried his head, still not fully healed, was hurting. I tensed up. What's wrong? Is your head hurting again? Leo shook his head. I want to take a bath. I feel stinky. I looked at his fractured arm, about to call the butler to help him. The next second, the hand on my sleeve tightened slightly, gripping my wrist. His eyes were full of longing. I want Honey to help me bathe. I was about to refuse. Then I saw the still healing scar on his brow bone. Besides, Leo and I were legally married. Helping my injured husband take a bath didn't seem like a big deal. My heart softened. Not soft at all. When I came out of the bathroom, my face was redder than his was after his bath. My hands were burning hot too. And that big goofball was trotting after me, asking, Honey, don't I look amazing? When I was bored in the hospital, I read a lot of articles online. They all said you should boldly show yourself off to the person you like. Your husband is no wimp. Boldly show himself off. He certainly showed off. Everything. First, he stripped naked. When I wouldn't open my eyes, he pried my eyelids open. He grabbed my other hand and started guiding it over his handsome face. Lying in the hospital for 2 months without working out. They've gotten smaller. Beneath my palm was his wildly beating heart and very well-defined abs. He complained they were smaller, but his voice was full of pride, and he kept striking poses. Further down, smooth, defined abs. Until, around his waist, something suddenly pressed against me. Leo, who had been so boldly showing off, suddenly hunched over, the tips of his ears turning pink. Couldn't control it. More than couldn't control it. It was like he was flooring it on the highway. I kept my eyes averted the entire bath. By the time I finished scrubbing him, my hands were sore. Honey, you still haven't answered me. Am I amazing or what? Leo looked like he wouldn't stop until he got a satisfactory answer. His big face buried itself right into my chest. My face burned. Honestly, I was satisfied. Before, being unsociable and a bit of a doormat, I avoided things like business dinners and parties whenever possible. If I absolutely had to go, I'd trail after my dad, force a couple of smiles, and then sneak off to eat cake. I'd seen Leo before. In the back garden of some business gala. I was, as usual, sneaking some cake. A group of people approached in the distance. Someone else also sneaking cake nudged my arm familiarly and gestured with their chin towards the group. Isn't that middle one old Green's precious only son? He's actually dressed like a decent human being today. I looked up. The one in the middle of the group. He was dazzling. Not just his face, but even more dazzling was his diamond-encrusted suit. 2 of those buttons would probably sell for a lot of money. I was so bedazzled I stared a bit longer, not quite grasping what the person next to me meant by Leo being dressed like a decent human being. Until the next time. I saw him wearing a bright red cartoon character tracksuit. And that wasn't all. There was also a superhero getup. A fantasy prince costume. An actual emperor's robe. And a gray, incredibly ugly outfit of unknown origin. It made his crotch look very prominent. Apart from his questionable fashion sense, Leo had a very impressive physique. After that, I didn't see him much, and I wasn't keen on going out anyway. Until the arranged marriage, and somehow, I became his wife. Leo might seem a bit dim-witted, but in other aspects, I was genuinely satisfied. Especially. My eyes reflexively glanced down. Leo keenly caught my gaze. The next moment, that familiar heat pressed against me again. My heart suddenly started racing. I didn't refuse. Gotta say. He lived up to my visual assessment. He was amazing. So amazing that I finally couldn't help but bring up what he'd said before. Listen to me. You married me reluctantly. I yanked his head up. Leo, lips still glistening, looked at me, utterly confused. This was already the 6th time tonight. If he kept being this amazing, it would be morning soon. This is an arranged marriage. You kept saying you were reluctantly marrying me. My hands trembling, I pressed down on his hand as it reached for a 7th condom. My back was a little sore. Reluctantly, remember? What are you babbling about? Kisses, kisses, kisses. Where'd you hide the last one? Leo pinned my hands above my head. A scorching kiss landed on me, shattering the rest of my words. I'd always wanted to understand why he liked me so much. I felt it wasn't just because of my looks. But every time I asked, Leo would turn to look at me seriously, and as he looked, those puppy dog eyes would glaze over again. Want kisses. And the kissing would lead to things getting out of hand. We'd only been married 2 months. The kitchen, the sofa, the floor-to-ceiling windows, the bedroom. We'd done it everywhere. Usually, he was either holding me from the front, nibbling on me, or holding me from behind, nibbling on me. Love grows over time, they say. It wasn't without reason. Leo might always seem a bit slow, but his dedication to service was truly impeccable. All sorts of role-playing. His careful observation of my expressions, so he could adjust accordingly. The result of his excellent technique was I'd become pretty shameless too. Until one night. Leo, diligently plowing the fields on top of me, suddenly froze. His eyes suddenly cleared. He looked at my naked body, then at his own. He clutched his head and yelled. You got me? I'm not a virgin anymore. Does that mean you won't love me anymore? I was stunned. What act was this now? A traditional, stuffy husband? Then what was my role? The wife who seduces and abandons? We weren't even doing role play today. Before I could say anything, Leo leaped off the bed in one big stride, muttering, It's over, it's over. He grabbed his phone from the side and rushed out. Until the next day. At the dining table, Leo was back to his reluctant self. I instantly understood, his memory had returned. My heart clenched. Then I remembered that he liked me both before and after his amnesia. I breathed a sigh of relief. I naturally served him some food. Leo was back to his old ways, eating shrimp without spitting out the shells, drinking water from his bowl. He also started secretly fiddling with his phone, texting someone, I didn't know who. None of that mattered. The scariest thing was, his libido had vanished. How could this be? He used to seduce me and serve me day and night, and now he just stopped. So frustrating. I gave his waist a hard pinch. The man, feigning sleep with his eyes closed, opened his arms and pulled me into his embrace. Can I reluctantly let you hug me? When I didn't say anything, he pouted and leaned his face towards mine. A reluctant kiss is also okay. I had already taken off my clothes. Who wanted this bland, passionless stuff? My eyelid twitched hard. I clenched my fists, silently counted 3, 2, 1. Propped myself up, straddled him. Something was pressing against me. Hard. I looked down in disbelief. It was already that. Swollen. What on earth was he being reluctant about? I couldn't take it anymore. Did you have a really high fever when you were a kid? Leo, whose face was flushed from me sitting on him, stiffened. How did you know? Then he suddenly grinned foolishly. I had a fever of 107. 6 and didn't die. Awesome, right? No, seriously, he had a high fever. No wonder he had a great body but the brain of a dog. Just as I was about to take matters into my own hands, Leo's phone by his pillow suddenly vibrated. The next second, I was tossed off him. Leo had been acting a bit sneaky lately. I observed him for a while and determined the culprit was a contact on his phone. One night when I got up to use the bathroom, I heard him secretly on the balcony, on the phone, calling the person on the other end strategist. We were married. We'd done everything. What did he need a strategist for? I tiptoed closer to the balcony and heard Leo speaking emphatically. A man who doesn't respect himself is like rotten cabbage. Once a woman gets a man, she loses interest. Leo suddenly choked, then whispered, what if she's already gotten me? Can that thing be cut off and regrown? I don't know what the other person said, but he started reciting again. A whole bunch of gibberish. The person on the phone said approvingly, good job reciting. Keep it up. Leo looked determined. I will heed the strategist's teachings. But, wasn't I his wife? Who was he respecting himself for? My mind was full of doubts. I put a little sleeping pill in Leo's water. He slept very peacefully. I got his phone. Unlocked it with his fingerprint, and opened his messaging app. I immediately found the strategist he'd been talking about. Leo, WTF, how did I delete you? Strategist, you were acting like your wife's lapdog when you had amnesia. Leo, being a lapdog wasn't bad, you know. She smells good all over, and it felt amazing when she scratched my chin with her sweet-smelling hands. Strategist, simps are destined to be dumped. Don't you get it with a living example like me right in front of you? Leo, so what should I do? Strategist, do what I told you before. Don't be too eager with your wife. Leo, tried hard to keep my distance from wifey today, wasn't seduced. Strategist, good job. Leo, couldn't hold it in today. Solved it by borrowing wifey's lace nightgown. Strategist, you didn't get caught, did you? Leo, nope, I'm very meticulous. Leo, strategist, how much longer do I have to hold out? Honey smells so good, I just want to kneel and go woof woof woof. Strategist, has she said she loves you? Has she said you're cute? Has she initiated a kiss? Leo, no. Strategist, then keep at it. What's our motto? Leo, simps get dumped. We men will absolutely not become playthings for these powerful women. So that's why some of my clothes had been disappearing lately. Turns out Leo had been using them for his manual relief. He could get his release. I was just left frustrated. The thought of such a useful tool like Leo being duped by his strategist into acting like a dog. A nameless anger welled up in my chest. After calming down, I sent a message to this strategist. I had to see what kind of damage a woman had done to this guy to make him say such things. What? Your ex-girlfriend made you bring them condoms when she was getting a room with her new boyfriend? And more than once? My jaw dropped to the floor. I gasped. The man across from me scowled, his voice low and restrained. Keep it down. Is this something to be proud of? Why wouldn't it be? Delivering them would be shameful, but not delivering them. Wait a minute. You delivered them? I whispered. The man was silent. I was silent too. I originally wanted to see who was trying to ruin my relationship with Leo. Instead, I stumbled into some juicy gossip. The corners of my mouth almost turned up, but then I remembered this was Leo's childhood best friend, and I quickly shut my mouth. She only stopped cherishing me after she got me. Before she had me, she called me baby and hubby every day. She said she wanted to put a dog collar on me, I wore it. She said she wanted me to call her mommy, I called her mommy. She said she wanted lots and lots of money, I gave her all my bank cards. Why did she break up with me? The man's eyes were red as he denounced her, word by word. I felt a bit sorry for him. Is it possible? She was just treating you like a pet from the start. Shut up. If I want to be a dog, that's my business. It has nothing to do with her. Leo is my best friend. I've been hurt, I can't let him get hurt too. So righteous. Why doesn't she love me? He clutched his head, sobbing his heart out. Truly Leo's best friend. They both cried like water buffaloes. I watched him, seemingly at war with himself, and tried to comfort him. Could it be? You were just too vanilla? The buffalo seemed to cry even louder. This damn mouth of mine. Watching the man cry even more intensely, I suddenly felt like I was sitting on pins and needles. Luckily, the restaurant's closing announcement interrupted his crying. He wiped his tears and stood up on his own. It's getting late. I have to go deliver the condoms. I can't let her get hurt. I returned home with an indescribable feeling. Leo was acting erratically again. He dug out that diamond-studded dragon fruit battle suit again, paired with green socks and shiny Chelsea boots. It was an outfit that made you want to black out. He was holding some small bottle and kept pouring its contents into his mouth. I asked, puzzled, "What are you eating?" Leo kept chewing, his voice muffled. Pesticide. The kind that kills you. Why was he so inexplicably angry? What are you really eating? Leo continued chewing. Aphrodisiacs. The kind that makes your junk explode. I went up to him and tried to pry his mouth open, but couldn't. I looked down at the small bottle in his hand, vitamin C. What's wrong with you? I could clearly tell his mood was off, so I sat down next to him. Leo turned his head away, his voice tinged with a sob. I knew it. You women don't cherish what you have once you get it. My buddy was right. It was only when I had amnesia that you bad woman, took advantage of my body. I almost burst out laughing. My gaze fell on the phone on the coffee table, its screen still on. A picture of me handing his friend a tissue was displayed prominently. Leo turned his head, pouting, and accused. It hasn't even been that long, and you're already finding a new man? Am I not handsome enough, not rich enough, are my abs not good enough to touch? I don't care. Anyway, I'm not a virgin anymore, so you have to take responsibility. What on earth was he talking about? A lump formed in my throat, and I couldn't speak for a moment. Leo suddenly lowered his voice, sounding uncertain. Can we not get a divorce? I'll be the main one, he can be the side piece. I glanced at the photo, then looked at him, completely exasperated. Can't you tell that's your friend? With little pearls in the corners of his eyes, Leo whipped his head back. I only saw you went, didn't look at what the guy looked like. You're into my friend? Forget my friend, even if my dad came along, he'd have to be the side piece. Trying to communicate with a brain that had been fried by a high fever as a kid was truly an exercise in futility. The anger that had just started to flare up in my heart was instantly extinguished when I saw his foolish expression. Leo was always a bit slow. It wasn't like I just found that out today. Everyone outside said he was a spoiled rich kid, a playboy ruined by his father's indulgence. But in my eyes, he was kind, cute, and sincere. Most importantly, he had a lot of money, and he let me spend it. And he had a lot of stamina, which was incredibly satisfying. I cupped his face, trying hard to ignore the ridiculous dragon fruit suit he was wearing, and said with all seriousness, "I only love you." Then I remembered what his equally clueless friend and strategist had said. "Has she said she loves you? Has she said you're cute? Has she initiated a kiss?" I continued. "And you're very cute." Leo's eyes instantly lit up, his expectant gaze falling on my lips. I leaned in and gently kissed him. It was like sealing some sacred pact. The next second, the romantic atmosphere was instantly shattered. Because Leo suddenly knelt down. As he knelt, he pulled out a dog leash from under the table. "This is great. I can finally be Honey's dog. Good thing no one else was home. Otherwise, I'd have to explain that I really hadn't learned witchcraft." Leo buried his head in my palm, his face full of adoration. Under the V-neck of his suit, his pecs, partially visible, formed an attractive curve. My throat felt a bit dry. I took the leash from his hand and, gently tugging him towards the bedroom, coaxed him softly. "Well then, let me see how a good doggy serves his master." On the table, Leo's phone vibrated a few times. "Bro. My ex asking me to bring her condoms was a test. She wants to use them with me. She didn't stop cherishing me. Turns out she was just mad because my moves were too old-fashioned. She's crazy in love with me. Delete that manual I sent you. I'm sending you the new Wife Worship Bible, memorize the whole thing. Wife is heaven. Wife is earth. Wife is my everything. Don't curse at wife. Don't talk back to wife. Life without wife's love is a total failure." She kissed me. Her lips are so sweet, her hands smell so good, I couldn't help but go woof woof woof. Being a woman's dog is truly the most wonderful thing in the world. Leo's epilogue. The old man said he was arranging a marriage for me, with the miller's daughter. Supposedly demure, obedient, and a national beauty. I was instantly furious. I didn't care if it was the Millers, the Whites, the Lees, or the Joneses, or if she was a national beauty, a siren, or Helen of Troy. I wasn't going to marry a woman I didn't like. Besides, there was a girl I liked, I just didn't know her name yet. A petite figure in a white dress popped into my mind. She always liked to sneak into the back garden to eat cake. Her favorite was blueberry. Every time she saw me, her eyes would be glued to me. I'm hot and I know it. My childhood buddy nudged my shoulder and said my suit was pretty cool, asking if he could borrow it for a couple of days. Of course it was cool. It was high-end custom couture. Other people couldn't even buy it if they wanted to. I nodded, then wait a second. Was it my suit that was cool, or was I cool? Was she looking at me, or my suit? I fell into deep thought. The next business gala. I wore my ridiculous cartoon character tracksuit. That girl still stared at me. Then my superhero getup. She still stared at me. Then my fantasy prince costume. She still stared. Confirmed. She liked staring at me. Not my clothes. A faint joy blossomed in my heart. Just when I was planning to approach her and talk to her next time, my dad grounded me. He hired a bunch of exorcists and feng shui masters. They were either doing weird dances in front of me or sprinkling strange water on me. In the end, all my colorful clothes were thrown into a brazier and burned to ashes. Later, when I was finally allowed to attend galas again, I never saw that girl. There was an empty feeling in my heart. I didn't understand what it was. I had a high fever as a kid, so my brain doesn't work too well. So I went to ask my childhood buddy. He thought for a long time and told me it was called liking someone. Liking someone? But I didn't even know her name. Seeing the old man was serious about the arranged marriage, I blew my top. I plopped down, held my head, and prepared to bang it against the wall. You don't have to kill yourself. We can just call off the engagement. The argument with the old man reached a boiling point when the door was pushed open. That familiar, petite figure appeared before me again. She blinked her big, round eyes, looking a bit nervous, standing by the door, picking at her palms. So my arranged marriage partner was her. What did she just say? Don't kill myself, and she wants to marry me? Not dying anymore. Honey, here I come. Thank God for that slap from my dad. I almost got completely lost in my future wife's charm. My buddy and strategist said, with girls you like, you have to be serious and composed. My rash behavior would scare her. Alpha women hate simps. You have to maintain distance. You can't become a woman's plaything. Otherwise, you'll be dumped. Because my buddy simped so hard he gave up his body, and that's why he got dumped. He said that before a woman officially commits, your virgin status is very important. I snapped back to reality. Looking at my wife-to-be. What was she babbling about? Didn't understand, just wanted to kiss. Not married, can't kiss. The wifey on my lips took a detour. I silently recited the Virgin's Handbook my strategist had sent me again. Be reserved. Maintain distance. I tilted my head up, pretending to be cool. All right then, I guess I'll reluctantly marry you. Melody shyly lowered her head. The importance of linguistic charm, indeed. Full marks, full marks. Being reluctant was so hard. I just wanted to wear nice clothes for my wife, eat the food she served me, drink the water she poured for me. But then I'd think of my buddy, dumped and spending his days at home nursing a hangover with soda. I shivered again. No way. If I pretended to be aloof, at least I could sleep holding my wife. So, the aloof guy went to visit. Wore my most expensive black diamond-studded suit, pretended to be cool and distant. I'm reluctantly gracing your home with my presence. Just threw something on. You don't mind, right? Honey said I could wear whatever I wanted. Did that mean she wasn't satisfied with this suit? Good thing I had another suit in the trunk. But then her sister said I was a dragon fruit. Since she was family, I held back my anger. Later, she called me a water buffalo. I ran to the restroom and just burst out crying with a moo. Water buffaloes are so ugly. Honey definitely wouldn't like a water buffalo. I was planning to show Honey my cool clothes at home after we got married. But then, the stupid vow I made not to marry her came true. I really did get hit by a car and sent flying. Didn't die. But it was pretty much the same as being dead. I actually lost my memory. Forgot everyone, only remembered Honey. The moment I saw her, I couldn't help but want to be all over her. I kissed every part of her body. Honey even smelled good down to her feet. I even pretended to be weak so she'd help me bathe. All so Honey would be captivated by my stunning looks. She was captivated. We did everything. The day my memory came back, I was diligently working on top of Honey. The sky fell. How could I have been so forward? I'd forgotten everything the strategist said. I even deleted the strategist himself. The moment she got me was the start of the countdown to losing her. During the day, I ran to my buddy's place to cry with him over some sodas. At night, I went home and slept holding Honey, but my heart was in turmoil. Until someone sent me a photo. It was my wife with another man, in a restaurant. This time, the sky really fell. At that moment, I was already imagining when I'd be dragged off to sign the divorce papers. Growing up, I'd never been in a relationship. I'd barely even talked to girls. The moment I did, they'd ask if I had a high fever as a kid that fried my brain. I did. A fever of 107.6, and it didn't even kill me. I'd tilt my head up, very proudly. But then they'd roll their eyes at me and ignore me even more. It seemed like when it came to romance, I was always a bit clueless. I didn't get it, I just knew I unconsciously wanted to be close to Honey. My best buddy, the only one with any relationship experience, became my love guru. He told me not to be too much of a doormat. The most important thing was to protect my little Leo. Once that thing was gotten, I'd be dumped. I looked down and retorted. Bullshit. It's obviously huge. Slapped myself on the mouth. Honey didn't like me swearing. You fragrant bullshit. It's big, Leo. The strategist said that didn't matter. What mattered was protecting the last line of defense. Well, great. The line of defense was gone. And it looked like Honey was about to be gone too. I started mooing and crying. Before Honey got home, I secretly wiped my tears and changed into what I thought was a very cool battle suit. Subtly trying to win her back, hoping Honey would understand. Honey likes me best. She only likes me. Being Honey's dog is the happiest thing in the world. After a satisfyingly vigorous session, Honey threw the outfit I was wearing into the trash, saying it was so ugly it made her want to shrivel. The next second, she fished it out of the trash and asked me how much the outfit cost. Couldn't remember. Was it 7 figures or 8 figures? Used the old man's card, so I didn't remember. Honey silently hung the dragon fruit battle suit in the closet and bowed to it 3 times reverently. She just told me not to wear it anymore. She'd take care of all my styling from now on. I nodded. Whatever Honey said was right. Late at night, when passion was at its peak, Honey tugged my ear and said this idiot, me, was the cutest. Honey was the real idiot. If she said things like that, then I'd have to fight until dawn. She wasn't getting any sleep tonight.